I always thought the worst thing you could accidentally send to a stranger was maybe an embarrassing photo or a rant about your terrible boss. Turns out, I was catastrophically wrong. Because the worst thing you can send to the wrong number is a detailed document outlining exactly when you'll be at your most vulnerable, where you'll be, and how completely defenseless you're going to be for 72 straight hours. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Rowan Ashby. I'm 28 years old, a research librarian at Westmont University, and up until 3 days ago, I had my life under control. Well, control might be generous. I had my life carefully managed through color-coded calendars, obsessive planning, and enough anxiety medication to stock a small pharmacy. The thing about being an unmated omega in a city like this is that you learn to be invisible. You keep your head down, you manage your cycles with ruthless efficiency, and you absolutely do not draw attention to yourself, especially not from alphas. I'd been doing just fine for 28 years, and then I sent that text. It was a Thursday afternoon, and the university library was in its usual state of quiet chaos. Midterms were approaching, which meant students were camping out in the stacks, fueled by terrible coffee and sheer panic. I was in my office, in the basement level, a tiny, windowless room crammed with filing cabinets, rare book preservation equipment, and approximately 7,000 sticky notes covering every available surface. My desk was buried under a mountain of archival requests, 3 half-drunk cups of tea that had gone cold hours ago, and my phone, which I'd been staring at with increasing dread for the past 20 minutes. The calendar notification glared at me from the screen. Heat, cycle, 3 days. My stomach twisted into a familiar knot of anxiety. 3 days. 72 hours until my body betrayed me and I spent the next 3 days locked in my tiny studio apartment, burning up with fever and desperately trying not to go insane from biological need. I'd been managing my heats alone since I presented at 16. 12 years of practice had given me a system. A good system. A safe system. Suppressants on a strict schedule. Stockpiled supplies. Reinforced locks. An emergency contact who knew to check on me when it was over. That emergency contact was Iris Chen, my coworker and the closest thing I had to family. She was a beta, which meant she was immune to omega pheromones and could actually function around me during heat. She was also the only person in the world I trusted enough to give my spare key. I pulled up her contact and started typing out my heat schedule. I'd refined the document over years, clinical, detailed, leaving nothing to chance. Heat cycle schedule, private. Next heat, March 15 to 1, 872 hours, estimated. Preheat symptoms, March 13 to 14. Location, 2847, Ashford St. Apt, 4B. Suppressant protocol, March 10, double dose, 800 milligrams. March 12, final dose, 400 milligrams. March 13, discontinue, heat begins. Emergency contact, Iris Chen, beta, 555 to 0147. Backup, Street Mercy's Omega Crisis Line. Supplies stocked. Bottled water, 2 cases. Protein bars. Nest materials. Heat-safe lock interior. Do not disturb, period. March 15:12 a.m. March 18:11:59 p.m. I read through it twice, making sure I hadn't forgotten anything. Water, food, nest materials, lock. Everything I'd need to survive 3 days alone. My chest ached with a loneliness I'd learned to ignore. Most omegas had packs by now, mates, people who'd take care of them during heat instead of just enduring it in isolation. But I'd grown up in foster care, bouncing between homes that didn't want an omega kid. I'd learned early that the only person I could rely on was myself. I attached the document to a text message and typed, "Same as always, thanks for being my emergency contact. I'll text you when it's over." And then I hit send. I set my phone down and turned back to the archival request I was supposed to be processing, a 19th century medical journal that smelled like dust and decay. I'd barely gotten through 2 pages when my phone buzzed. That was fast. Iris must have been on her phone. I picked it up, expecting her usual response, something like, "Got it. Stay hydrated. Don't die. Text me when you're human again." Instead, my blood turned to ice. Unknown number. Received. Heat protocol inadequate. Suppressants discontinued immediately. I blinked. Read it again. The words didn't change. What the hell? My hands started shaking. I checked the message thread, my heart beginning to hammer against my ribs. The number at the top wasn't Iris's. It wasn't even close. I'd transposed the last 2 digits. Oh my God, I whispered to my empty office. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, 2847, Ashford St. Apt, 4B. Building security is compromised. We're handling it. The phone nearly slipped from my trembling hands. They knew my address. A complete stranger had my address, my heat schedule, my suppressant dosage, everything. A third message came through. Unknown number. Don't run. We're already en route. The sheer authority in those words, the absolute certainty, made every omega instinct in my body scream in alarm. I fumbled with the phone, pulling up the contact information. My fingers were shaking so badly I could barely tap the call button. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then voicemail. A professional, coldly efficient recording. You've reached Sterling Security Solutions. Leave a message or contact our main office at... I hung up, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Sterling Security Solutions. I knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. They were the most elite private security firm in the state. They protected politicians, celebrities, CEOs. They had contracts with half the corporations downtown, and they were run by. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone as I pulled up a search. The results loaded. The first image made my stomach drop through the floor. 3 men, identical, impossibly tall, impossibly broad-shouldered, standing in tactical gear in front of a sleek black building. The photo was from some security industry conference. The caption read, Sterling Security Solutions celebrates 5th year. Pictured, founding partners Caspian, Thorne, and Zephyr Sterling. Alphas, all 3 of them. I could tell even from the photo the way they stood, the sheer presence they radiated, even through a screen. And I just sent them my heat schedule. My fingers flew across the keyboard, typing out a frantic message. Me. Wrong number. Delete that immediately. This is private medical information. The reply was instant. Unknown number. We don't delete anything. See you in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. They were coming here. 3 alpha brothers who ran the most powerful security company in the city were coming here, and they knew exactly when I'd be vulnerable, exactly where I lived. I grabbed my bag with shaking hands, shoving my laptop inside along with my wallet and keys. I had to leave, had to get out of the building before they... My phone rang. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. Against every instinct screaming at me to ignore it, I answered. Hello? My voice came out small, terrified. Rowan Ashby. It wasn't a question. The voice on the other end was deep, controlled, with an undercurrent of absolute authority that made my knees weak. My name is Caspian Sterling. You sent highly sensitive personal information to my private line. We need to discuss your security situation. It was an accident, I stammered. I meant to send that to my friend. Please just delete it and forget. Your building has 14 code violations, Caspian interrupted, his voice maddeningly calm. The front door lock is broken. There's no security camera coverage in your hallway. Your apartment is on the ground floor with a window that faces an alley, and you're planning to spend a heat cycle there, alone. How did he know all that? How could he possibly? I've been living there for 3 years, I said, trying to sound firm instead of terrified. I know how to take care of myself. Clearly not. The response was cold, factual. You're 72 hours from heat in an unsecured location. That's unacceptable. It's none of your business, I snapped, anger finally cutting through the fear. You don't know me. You don't get to decide. We're in the parking lot, a different voice said. This one was rougher, a low growl that sent shivers down my spine. Come down on your own or we come up and get you. The call ended. I stared at my phone in disbelief. This couldn't be happening. This was insane. They couldn't. I ran. I grabbed my bag and bolted out of my office, my sneakers squeaking against the polished library floor. I took the back stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst through my ribs. If I could just get to my car, if I could just... I burst through the emergency exit into the parking lot and stopped dead. A massive black SUV was parked directly in front of the door, blocking my path. 3 men stood in front of it. They were identical, absolutely identical. The same height, easily 6'4", the same broad shoulders, the same sharp jawlines and dark hair. They were dressed in black tactical pants and fitted black shirts that did nothing to hide the sheer muscle underneath. But it was their eyes that pinned me in place. Ice blue, all 3 of them, focused on me with an intensity that made every Omega instinct in my body scream conflicting instructions. Run, submit, run, submit. I couldn't move. The one in the middle spoke first. His voice was the one from the phone, controlled, quiet, terrifying in its calmness. "Rowan Ashby," Caspian said. "You're coming with us." "No." The word came out as a whisper. I tried again, louder. "No, I don't know you. You can't just..." The one on the right moved. 1 second, he was standing by the vehicle. The next, he was in front of me, so fast I didn't even see him cross the distance. Up close, he was even more terrifying. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, and his eyes held a barely controlled violence that made my breath catch. "You sent us your vulnerability window," Thorne said, his voice a low rumble. "You gave us your location, your schedule, everything we'd need to know that you'll be defenseless in 48 hours. "It was an accident," I said desperately, taking a step back. He matched it, following. "I didn't mean..." "Doesn't matter." The third one appeared at my other side. Zephyr. His voice was softer than his brother's, but no less intense. "You're in a building with broken security, living alone, about to go into heat. That's 3 critical vulnerabilities. We're a security company, sweetheart. What did you think would happen?" "I'll call the police," I said, pulling out my phone with shaking hands. This is kidnapping. You can't..." "Call them," Caspian said, still standing by the vehicle, arms crossed. "Tell them 3 licensed security professionals are relocating an unmated Omega from a dangerous situation 48 hours before a heat cycle. See what they say." I stared at him, at all 3 of them. He was right. I knew he was right. Unmated Omegas in preheat were considered at risk by the city. If I called the police and told them what was happening, they'd probably help these alphas take me into protective custody. I was trapped. "Your apartment?" Zephyr said gently, pulling out a tablet. He turned it toward me. "Look." The screen showed a detailed report. Building violations. Police reports of break-ins in my neighborhood. Photos of my building's broken front door. The window to my apartment. The alley behind it. "You're not safe there," Zephyr continued, his voice soft but unyielding. "You're not safe anywhere right now, except with us." "I don't even know you," I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. Thorne stepped closer, too close. I could smell him now, leather and smoke and something darker, something that made my Omega hindbrain go absolutely haywire. "You will," he promised. Before I could process what was happening, he bent down and simply picked me up. One arm under my knees, one around my back, lifting me as if I weighed nothing at all. "Put me down," I struggled, pushing against his chest. It was like pushing against solid steel. "Let go of me." "Can't do that," Thorne said, carrying me toward the SUV. "You're in danger. We fix danger." Caspian opened the back door. Thorne deposited me onto the leather seat with surprising gentleness, then slid in beside me, effectively blocking my escape. Zephyr got in on my other side. Caspian took the driver's seat. I was completely trapped between 2 massive alphas in the back of a vehicle, being driven to God knows where by a third. "This is insane," I said, my voice breaking. "You can't just take me. I have a job. "We called your supervisor," Zephyr said calmly, pulling out his phone. "Told her you had a family emergency and would be taking the rest of the week off." My mouth fell open. "You what?" "Medical emergency, technically," Caspian said from the front seat, pulling the SUV smoothly into traffic. "We have a doctor on retainer who'll provide the necessary documentation." "You've thought of everything," I said bitterly. "That's what we do." Caspian's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. "We identify threats and neutralize them. You being alone during heat in that apartment is a threat. We're neutralizing it." I slumped back against the seat, my mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen in real life. You didn't accidentally text 3 alphas your heat schedule and get kidnapped by a security firm. Except apparently you did. The drive took 15 minutes. We pulled into an underground garage beneath the tallest building in the financial district, a sleek glass and steel tower that seemed to pierce the sky. The elevator required biometric scanning. Caspian pressed his thumb to the panel, and we shot upwards so fast my stomach dropped. When the doors opened, I realized we weren't going to an office. We'd gone straight to the penthouse. The space was massive, an open-concept living area with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Everything was done in shades of gray and black, sleek and modern and utterly impersonal. Except for the scent. The entire penthouse was saturated with alpha pheromones. 3 distinct scents layered over each other: gunmetal and winter pine, leather and smoke, ozone and clean linen. My omega instincts responded immediately, a traitorous warmth spreading through my chest. Safe. The thought came unbidden. Alpha scents mean safe. No, I said out loud, shaking my head. Absolutely not. I am not staying here. Yes, you are, Thorne said. He'd positioned himself between me and the elevator, blocking my escape route. Zephyr touched my arm gently. Let us show you the heat suite. We had it prepared after we received your message. You had it prepared? I pulled away from his touch. That was an hour ago. How did you... We move fast when it matters, Caspian said. He walked down a hallway, clearly expecting me to follow. Against my better judgment, against every screaming instinct telling me to run, I followed. The heat suite was at the end of the hall. Caspian opened the door, and I stepped inside. It was perfect. That was the worst part. It was absolutely perfect. The room was temperature-controlled, the thermostat showing precise digital readings. There were cases of water stacked neatly in the corner, protein bars and easy-to-eat foods arranged on shelves. The bed was massive, piled high with blankets and pillows in various textures perfect for nesting. There was even a small attached bathroom with a walk-in shower. Everything I'd struggled to prepare in my tiny apartment, they'd assembled in an hour. No, I said again, but my voice had lost its conviction. I can't. I don't even know you. I can't spend my heat with strangers. You won't be spending it with us, Caspian said quietly. This room locks from the inside. You'll be completely safe, completely alone, if that's what you want. We'll have Dr. Cross check on you periodically, but no one will enter without your permission. I stared at him. Then why bring me here at all? Because your building isn't safe, Thorne growled. Because you could have someone break in. Because you could get hurt and no one would know until it's too late. Because you're alone, Zephyr added softly. And no Omega should have to go through heat alone. Something in my chest cracked at those words. I'd been alone for so long. Every heat, every difficult moment, every terrifying vulnerability, I'd faced it all alone. And these 3 strangers, these terrifying, overwhelming alphas were offering me something I'd never had. Safety. I need to think, I said, backing toward the door. I can't process this right now. We'll give you space, Caspian said, but you're not leaving this floor. It's not negotiable. Of course it wasn't. They showed me to a guest room, which was larger and nicer than my entire apartment, and finally left me alone. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands shaking, my mind spinning. 48 hours until heat. 48 hours trapped in a penthouse with 3 alphas who'd taken one look at my vulnerability and decided I belonged to them. I pulled out my phone to call Iris, to tell her what had happened. But when I tried, there was no signal. I walked to the door, tried the handle. Locked. They'd locked me in. Panic surged through my chest. I pounded on the door. Let me out! You can't keep me here! The door opened immediately. Thorne stood there, his expression unreadable. You can't leave the penthouse, but you can move around inside. Door stays unlocked unless you want it locked. I want to leave, I said desperately. Can't let you do that, he leaned against the door frame. Not until we know you're safe. I was safe before you showed up. No, you weren't. His voice was absolutely certain. You just didn't know it yet. He left, leaving the door open. I stood there, trembling with anger and fear, and something else I didn't want to name. The sun was setting outside the massive windows, painting the city in shades of orange and gold. 48 hours. I just had to survive 48 hours, get through heat in their prepared room, and then I could go back to my life. I could survive anything for 48 hours. Couldn't I? The first night was the hardest. I stayed in the guest room, door closed but not locked, trying to ignore the sounds of the penthouse around me. I could hear them moving around footsteps in the hallway, the low murmur of voices, the smell of food being cooked. My stomach growled. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, and it was now past 8 p.m. But I refused to go out there, refused to sit at their table like this was normal. Around 9, there was a soft knock on my door. "Go away," I called out. The door opened anyway. Zephyr stood there, holding a tray of food. "You need to eat," he said gently. "Especially this close to heat. Your body needs nutrients." "I'm not hungry." "You're lying." He stepped into the room, setting the tray on the desk. "I can hear your stomach from the hallway, sweetheart." I glared at him. "Don't call me that. Would you prefer Rowan? Or something else?" He sat down in the desk chair, completely relaxed, as if he hadn't just kidnapped me. "We want you comfortable. I'd be comfortable in my own apartment." "You'd be vulnerable in your apartment," Zephyr corrected. "There's a difference." I pulled my knees to my chest, wrapping my arms around them. "Why are you doing this? You don't know me." "That text was an accident." "Was it?" Zephyr tilted his head, studying me with those intense blue eyes. "Or did some part of you know exactly what you were doing?" "That's insane. I've never wanted." I couldn't finish the sentence. "Never wanted what? An alpha? A pack?" Zephyr's voice was soft, understanding. "Or never let yourself want it because you thought you didn't deserve it." The words hit too close to home. I looked away, my throat tight. "I ran a background check," Zephyr admitted. "After we got your message. I know about the foster care. I know you've been alone since you aged out at 18. I know you put yourself through college, working 3 jobs. I know you've been managing your heats alone for over a decade." Tears burned behind my eyes. "You had no right." "We had every right," he said firmly. "The second you sent us that schedule, you became our responsibility. And we protect what's ours." "I'm not yours." "Not yet." He stood, moving toward the door. "But you will be. Eat, Rowan. Rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." He left, closing the door softly behind him. I stared at the tray of food. It smelled incredible roasted chicken, vegetables, fresh bread. My stomach cramped with hunger. Hating myself, I ate every bite. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking. I'd slept better than I had in months, which made me irrationally angry. I shouldn't be comfortable here. I shouldn't feel safe in a place where I was being held against my will. But my omega biology didn't care about logic. It only cared that the room smelled like alpha, that the bed was soft, that for the first time in years I'd slept without nightmares. I got up, showered in the attached bathroom using products that smelled like cedarwood and rain, and reluctantly left the guest room. The penthouse was filled with morning light. All 3 brothers were in the kitchen area, a massive space with professional-grade appliances and a huge island. Caspian was reading something on a tablet, drinking black coffee. Thorn was cooking, his movements surprisingly graceful for such a large man. Zephyr was typing on a laptop, multiple screens open around him. They all looked up when I entered. "Morning," Zephyr said brightly. "Sleep okay?" I didn't answer. I headed straight for the coffee maker. "Already made you a cup," Thorn said, nodding toward a mug on the counter. "2 sugars, splash of cream, right?" I froze. "How did you—" "Security cameras at the library," Zephyr said absently, still typing. "We analyzed your patterns. You make coffee the same way every morning at 7:15 a.m. The casual invasion of my privacy should have terrified me. Instead, I was just too tired to care. I took the coffee. It was perfect. 36 hours, Caspian said, setting down his tablet. Your preheat symptoms will start manifesting soon. Increased body temperature, heightened senses, irritability. I'm already irritable, I muttered. More than usual, Caspian continued as if I hadn't spoken. We need to discuss the protocol for the next 48 hours. I go into the heat suite. I lock the door. You leave me alone. Done. I took a long drink of coffee. Not quite. Caspian stood, moving around the island toward me. I backed up instinctively, but he kept coming until I was pressed against the counter. You'll need monitoring. Doctor, Cross will check on you every 12 hours, and one of us will remain outside the suite at all times. Why? My voice came out breathier than I intended. He was too close. I could smell the gunmetal and pine, could feel the heat radiating off his body. Because heat can be dangerous, Caspian said quietly. Dehydration, fever spikes, disorientation. If something goes wrong, we need to be able to respond immediately. I've been managing my heats alone for 12 years. And that ends now. His hand came up, and I flinched, but he just tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was gentle, almost tender. You're not alone anymore, Rowan. Get used to it. He stepped back, leaving me trembling against the counter. Breakfast was an awkward affair. Thorne had made pancakes fluffy, perfect, with fresh berries and real maple syrup. I ate in silence while the three of them moved around each other with practiced ease, clearly comfortable in their shared space. Brothers, identical triplets, living together, working together, apparently kidnapping omegas together. What's your company actually do? I asked, breaking the silence. Besides abduct people? We provide security solutions for high-profile clients, Caspian answered. Personal protection, facility security, threat assessment, crisis management. Kidnapping falls under crisis management? Protective custody, Thorne corrected. There's a difference. Is there? I set down my fork. Because from where I'm sitting, you took me from my workplace against my will, brought me to a location I didn't choose, and are holding me here by force. We're keeping you safe, Zephyr said softly. There's a difference. I didn't ask to be kept safe. You shouldn't have to ask, Caspian said. That's what alphas are for. I laughed, a bitter sound. I don't have alphas. I don't have anyone. You have us now, Thorne said simply. The certainty in his voice made something in my chest ache. By noon, the preheat symptoms started. I was sitting in the living area, pretending to read a book I'd found on their shelf when the first wave hit. Heat. Sudden, intense, flooding through my veins like fire. I gasped, dropping the book. All three of them looked up immediately. Rowan? Zephyr was on his feet, crossing to me. What's wrong? Nothing, I managed, but my voice was strained. Just warm. It's warm in here. It's 68 degrees, Caspian said, checking his phone. Your temperature is rising. Preheat is starting. Another wave hit, stronger this time. My skin felt too tight, too hot. I could smell them, really smell them now. The suppressants I'd been taking were wearing off, and my omega senses were sharpening. Gunmetal and pine, leather and smoke, ozone and linen. Alpha, alpha, alpha. Heat sweet, Thorne said, his voice rougher than before. Now. I wanted to argue, but another spike of heat made my vision blur. I tried to stand and my legs buckled. Thorne caught me before I hit the floor, sweeping me up into his arms. I can walk, I protested weakly. Sure you can. He carried me down the hallway, Caspian and Zephyr following close behind. The heat suite was cool, dark, perfect. Thorne set me on the bed carefully. We're going to leave, Caspian said. Lock the door behind us. There's water, food, everything you need. Dr. Cross will check on you in 12 hours. We'll be right outside if you need anything, Zephyr added. Just call out. They moved toward the door. Wait, the word came out before I could stop it. All three turned back. I didn't know what I was asking for. I just knew that the thought of being alone, of going through this again by myself, made my chest tight with panic. Never mind, I whispered. Just go. Caspian's jaw tightened. Rowan, please. I curled into the pillows, pulling a blanket over myself. Just go. They left. I heard the door close. And I was alone again. Just like always. The next 12 hours were hell. The fever built slowly at first, then spiked violently. I stripped off my clothes, unable to stand the feeling of fabric against my skin. The blankets were too heavy, then too light. I couldn't get comfortable no matter how I arranged the nest. I drank water, forced myself to eat protein bars, tried to sleep but kept waking up disoriented and aching. My body knew what it wanted, knew what it needed. Alpha. But I'd spent 12 years denying that need, I could do it again. Around midnight, Dr. Cross came. She was a kind-faced beta woman in her 50s who checked my vitals with professional efficiency and didn't comment on my obvious distress. Temperature is 101, she said. That's normal for preheat. Are you experiencing any pain? Nausea? No, I managed. Just hot. That will get worse over the next 24 hours. She left ice packs. Use these if you need them. And Rowan, the door is always unlocked from your side. If you need help, they'll come. I won't need help. She looked at me with something like pity and left. I lasted another 6 hours. By dawn, the fever had spiked to 103. I was shaking, disoriented. My omega biology screaming for something I'd denied it for too long. I stumbled to the door, my legs weak, pressed my forehead against the cool wood. Help, I whispered, my voice cracking. Please. The door opened so fast I nearly fell. Thorn caught me, his hands cool against my burning skin. I've got you, he rumbled. What do you need? I don't know, I sobbed, clinging to his shirt. It hurts. Everything hurts. He lifted me easily, carrying me back to the bed. Within seconds, Caspian and Zephyr appeared in the doorway. Heat is progressing faster than expected, Caspian said, his voice tight with control. We need to get his temperature down. Zephyr disappeared, returning with more ice packs. They placed them against my neck, my wrists, under my arms. The cool relief lasted about 30 seconds before the fire came roaring back. It's not working, I gasped. Why isn't it working? Because you need an alpha, Thorn said bluntly. Your body is trying to trigger a response, and there's no one here to give it. No, I said desperately. I can do this alone. I always do this alone. You don't have to, Zephyr said softly. He was kneeling by the bed, his hand cool against my forehead. We're right here, sweetheart. We can help. You'll bite me, I whispered. That's what alphas do. They bite and claim, and I can't. I can't belong to someone. I can't. Caspian moved closer, sitting on the edge of the bed. We won't bite you, not unless you ask. Not unless you want it. But the heat. We can help you through it without bonding, Caspian said. If that's what you want, physical contact, alpha pheromones, presence, it's enough to ease the symptoms without a bite. I looked at them through my fever-blurred vision. 3 identical faces, all looking at me with the same intense focus. Why? I asked. Why would you do that? Why would you help me without getting what you want? Because what we want, Zephyr said quietly, is for you to choose us. And you can't choose if you're delirious with fever. Another wave of heat crashed over me. I cried out, curling into myself. Let us help, Thorn growled. Please. I'd never heard an alpha say please before. It broke something in me. Okay, I whispered. Okay. They stayed with me through the worst of it. Caspian was methodical, clinical. He monitored my temperature, made sure I stayed hydrated, adjusted the ice packs when they got warm. Zephyr was gentle, soothing. He talked to me in that soft voice, telling me stories about growing up with his brothers, distracting me from the pain. Thorn was the anchor. He climbed into the nest with me, his massive body cool against my burning skin. He let me cling to him, let me bury my face in his neck, and breathe in that leather and smoke scent that made my omega hindbrain purr in satisfaction. Alpha, safe, alpha, safe. But they didn't bite, didn't claim, just held me and soothed me and kept me from burning up. Somewhere around hour 30, the fever broke into true heat. I woke up disoriented, my body on fire in a completely different way. The ache had shifted, become focused, desperate. I needed. Easy, Caspian said. He was still there, sitting in a chair by the bed. You're okay. You're safe. No, I whimpered. Not okay. Need. We know what you need, Zephyr said softly. He was on the other side of the bed. But you have to ask for it, sweetheart. You have to say the words. Can't, I gasped. Tears were streaming down my face. Can't. You can, Thorn rumbled. He was still in the nest with me, his arms around me. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You survived 12 years of this alone. You can survive asking for help. Please, I sobbed into his chest. Please, I need. Say it, Caspian commanded quietly. I need you, I finally broke. All of you, please, please help me. We've got you, Thorn promised. And they did. They took care of me through the full 72 hours. I have fragmented memories of that time, fever dreams mixed with moments of sharp clarity. Caspian's cool hands adjusting the temperature, Zephyr's soft voice talking me through the worst spikes, Thorn's solid presence letting me cling to him when the need got too overwhelming. They touched me, held me, used their alpha pheromones to calm my omega biology, but they didn't bite. I asked. God help me, I asked. On the second day, when the fever was at its worst and I was half out of my mind with need, I begged them to claim me, to bite me and make it stop. No, Caspian said firmly, not like this. Not when you're not in your right mind. I am, I insisted desperately. I want this, please. Ask us again when heat is over, Zephyr said gently. If you still want it, we'll discuss it. But you need us, Thorn finished. And you have us. The bite can wait. So I endured. With their help, I endured. And on the morning of the fourth day, I woke up clear-headed for the first time in 72 hours. The fever was gone. The desperate need had faded to a dull ache. My body felt wrung out, exhausted, but human again. I was alone in the bed. Panic spiked through me. Where had they gone? Had they left me? Then I saw them. All three brothers were in the room. Caspian was asleep in the chair, his head tilted back, dark circles under his eyes. Zephyr was on the floor, his back against the wall, laptop still open on his lap. Thorn was at the foot of the bed, sitting on the floor with his arms crossed on the mattress, his head resting on them. They'd stayed. The entire time, they'd stayed. I sat up slowly, my body protesting the movement. I was wearing one of their shirts, soft, huge, smelling like all three of them. Thorn's eyes opened immediately. You're awake, he said quietly, careful not to wake his brothers. How do you feel? Tired, I admitted. Sore, but better. He stood, moving to sit on the edge of the bed. Heat's broken. You made it through. Because of you. The words came out soft. All of you. We told you we'd help. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the exhaustion in his face, the worry in his eyes. You didn't sleep, I realized. Couldn't. He reached out, brushing my hair back from my face. Had to make sure you were okay. Something in my chest cracked wide open. These three alphas strangers who'd kidnapped me, who'd forced me into their protection, had spent 3 days taking care of me, not claiming me, not using my vulnerability, just caring. I don't understand, I whispered. Why? What do you want from me? Thorn was quiet for a long moment. Then, we want you to stay. Stay? Here, with us. He cupped my face gently. We want you to choose us, Rowan. Not because you're in heat, not because you're afraid, but because you want to. Tears burned in my eyes. I don't even know you. Then get to know us. Caspian's voice came from the chair. He was awake now, watching us. We have time. Zephyr stirred, blinking awake. When he saw me sitting up, alert, a brilliant smile crossed his face. Hey, sweetheart, he said warmly. Welcome back. I looked at the three of them, at these impossible alphas who'd turned my life upside down in 48 hours. I should run, should demand they let me go back to my apartment, my job, my carefully controlled life. But sitting there, surrounded by their scents, seeing the care in their eyes, I didn't want to run. For the first time in my life, I wanted to stay. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay, for now. The relief on their faces was palpable. For now, Caspian agreed. That's all we're asking. Zephyr brought me food. Thorn helped me to the bathroom. Caspian checked my vitals one more time, making sure the heat had fully broken. And as I sat there, being cared for by three alphas who'd seen me at my most vulnerable and hadn't taken advantage, I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd sent that text to exactly the right number after all. The morning after my heat broke, I woke up in the guest room, my guest room. I was starting to think of it, which was dangerous to the smell of coffee and bacon. I sat up slowly, my body still sore but functional. I was wearing borrowed clothes again, soft sweatpants and a t-shirt that hung to my knees. All 3 cents were woven into the fabric. My phone was on the nightstand, fully charged. I grabbed it, half expecting to see dozens of missed calls from Iris, frantic messages asking where I was. Instead, there was a single text from yesterday. Iris. The Sterling brothers explained everything. Take all the time you need. I'm so glad you're safe. Call me when you can. I stared at the screen. They'd already handled it. Of course they had. I pulled up my email, my stomach sinking as I scrolled through the messages. There were 3 from my supervisor at the library. The first was from 4 days ago. Rowan, the Sterling security team contacted us about your family emergency. Take all the time you need. Your position is secure. The second was from 2 days ago. Hope everything is okay. Dr. Cross sent over the medical documentation. You're approved for 2 weeks of leave. The third was from this morning. No rush on coming back. We've hired a temp to cover your duties. Focus on your recovery. Medical documentation. 2 weeks of leave. A temporary replacement. They'd thought of everything. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt a creeping sense of my life being managed without my input. I got dressed in my own clothes. They'd brought a bag from my apartment at some point and went out to face them. All 3 were in the kitchen. Again, did they ever leave? Morning, Zephyr said brightly, like I hadn't spent the last 3 days half out of my mind with fever. Sleep okay? Fine. I headed straight for the coffee. The mug was already there, prepared exactly how I liked it. The casual intimacy of that small gesture made my chest ache. We need to talk, Caspian said, setting down his tablet. About what? Your living situation. I froze, the mug halfway to my lips. What about it? You can't go back to that apartment, Thorne said bluntly. We already discussed this. You discussed it, I shot back. I didn't agree to anything. Caspian stood, moving around the island with that predatory grace. Your lease has been terminated. Your belongings have been moved to a storage facility. Your landlord was compensated for the early termination. The mug slipped from my numb fingers. Zephyr caught it before it hit the floor. You did what? My voice came out strangled. The building was unsafe, Caspian continued as if I hadn't spoken. We had it inspected. Black mold in the walls, faulty wiring, structural issues. The landlord is facing multiple code violations. You should be thanking us. Thanking you? I stared at him in disbelief. You terminated my lease without asking me. You moved my things without my permission. You kept you from living in a death trap? Thorne finished. Yeah, we did. Those were my decisions to make. My voice rose. That was my life. It was a life that was slowly killing you, Zephyr said quietly. He'd moved closer without me noticing. Black mold exposure, Rowan. You've been breathing toxic spores for 3 years. That's why you've been getting sick so often. I wanted to argue, but memories of constant colds, persistent headaches, the cough I could never quite shake. Where are my things? I demanded. Climate-controlled storage facility, 2 blocks from here, Caspian said. We can retrieve anything you need. I need all of it. I need my own place. I can't just live here. Why not? Thorne crossed his arms. You've got your own room, your own bathroom, better security than any apartment building. What's the problem? The problem is I didn't choose this, I shouted. You made every decision for me. You took over my life without asking. I didn't consent to any of this. Silence fell over the kitchen. Caspian's expression shifted, something that might have been guilt flickering across his features. You're right. I blinked. What? You're right, he repeated. We overstepped. We saw a problem and we fixed it without considering your autonomy. He looked at his brothers. We owe you an apology. Thorne looked uncomfortable. We were just trying to help. Trying to help without asking permission is still controlling, Zephyr said softly, though his eyes were sad. We're sorry, Rowan. I wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting them to back down. I didn't know what to say. But we're not sorry about getting you out of that apartment, Caspian added. The mold alone could have caused serious health problems. That part wasn't negotiable. Everything is negotiable, I said firmly. That's how consent works. You don't get to decide what's best for me. You're right. Caspian pulled out his phone. Give me a list of apartments you'd feel safe in. We'll arrange viewings today. I don't need you to arrange. Rowan. He looked at me, really looked at me. We fucked up. We came on too strong, too fast. We're trying to do better. But we can't just let you walk back into danger. Meet us halfway. Meet them halfway. I took a shaky breath. I want to see my things, all of them, and I want my own space to decide what happens next. Deal, all three said simultaneously. The storage facility was exactly what they'd promised. Clean, climate-controlled, secure. My entire life was packed into a 10x 10 unit. Boxes of books, my clothes, my kitchen supplies, the threadbare couch I'd bought secondhand, everything I owned. I stood there staring at it, feeling oddly hollow. This was my independence, my proof that I could take care of myself. It looked pathetic, packed into boxes. What do you want to bring back? Zephyr asked gently. I don't know. I touched one of the box's books, labeled in my own handwriting. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Thorn's hand settled on my shoulder, warm and solid. Then don't decide today. We'll keep it here as long as you need. I can't stay with you forever. Why not? Zephyr asked. Because, I struggled to find words. Because you barely know me. Because this is all moving too fast. Because I've been taking care of myself since I was 18, and I don't know how to let people in. Then learn, Caspian said. We're patient. What if I can't? You already are. Thorn turned me around to face him. You let us help you through heat. That took trust. That was biology. It was choice. His ice blue eyes held mine. You could have suffered alone like you always do, but you asked for help. That's not nothing. I looked away, my throat tight. I want to go back to work. Okay. I blinked. Just like that? You need normalcy, Zephyr said. We get it. When do you want to start? Tomorrow. Then we'll take you tomorrow, Caspian said. I can drive myself. Your car is still at the library parking lot, Thorn pointed out. We'll drop you off. You can drive yourself home. Fair? It was fair. Frustratingly fair. Fine, I muttered. We brought back 3 boxes, my books, my clothes, some personal items. They cleared space in the guest room closet without comment. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the penthouse. I could hear them moving around. Thorn's heavy footsteps, Zephyr's softer ones, the low murmur of Caspian's voice on a phone call. For the first time in a decade, I wasn't alone. I didn't know if that terrified me or comforted me. Maybe both. Going back to work was supposed to feel normal. It didn't. The Sterling brothers dropped me off at the library at 7 a.m. sharp. All 3 of them walked me to my car in the parking lot, checked that it started, and watched me drive it back to the front entrance. We'll pick you up at 5, Caspian said through my open window. I can drive myself back. Humor us, Zephyr said, just for the first week. I wanted to argue, but Iris was already running across the parking lot toward us, her face lit up with excitement and concern. Go, Thorn said. We'll see you tonight. They left in their black SUV, and Iris practically tackle-hugged me. Oh my God, are you okay? When those 3 terrifying alphas showed up and said there was a family emergency, I thought, wait, you don't have family. What actually happened? I pulled her inside, away from curious eyes. It's complicated. Complicated how? Did they kidnap you? Do you need help? I will call the police right now. No, I said quickly. It's not they didn't. How did I explain this? I accidentally sent them my heat schedule, and they kind of took protective custody. Iris's eyes went wide. They what? Over coffee in my tiny basement office, I told her everything. The wrong number, the penthouse, the heat, waking up to find my entire life reorganized. That's insane, Iris breathed. Wait, are you okay? Did they hurt you? No. The answer came immediately. They were. Careful. Respectful, even. They helped me through heat I felt my face heat, without claiming me. But they want to. It wasn't a question. I think so, I admitted. But they're waiting for me to decide. Iris studied my face. And what do you want? I don't know. I buried my face in my hands. I've been alone for so long, Iris. I don't know how to be part of something, part of someone. Maybe that's okay. she said gently. Maybe you can learn. The first week back at work was strange. Everything was the same: the dusty archives, the temperamental printer, the students who waited until the last minute to request research materials. But I was different. I caught myself thinking about them constantly, wondering what they were doing, whether they'd eaten lunch, if Thorne had gotten into another argument with a difficult client, if Zephyr had solved whatever tech problem he'd been muttering about at breakfast. The bond we'd started forming during heat was still there, faint but present. I could feel them sometimes, impressions of emotion, vague awareness of their presence in the city. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like coming up for air after years underwater. On Thursday, Caspian texted me at lunch. Caspian, eating? I looked at the protein bar I'd grabbed from the vending machine. Me, yes. Caspian, liar. Actual food is being delivered to your office in 10 minutes. I wanted to be annoyed. Instead, when a courier arrived with fresh soup and sandwiches from the cafe I liked, I found myself smiling. On Friday, I worked late finishing an archival project. When I finally emerged from the basement at 7 p.m., exhausted and covered in dust, Thorne was waiting in the lobby. You're late, he said. I texted Zephyr, told him I'd drive myself home. Too bad. Thorne took my bag, slinging it over his shoulder. I was in the neighborhood. You're never in this neighborhood. I am now. He guided me toward the exit with a hand on my lower back. You eat dinner? I'll grab something at home. Our home, or the fantasy apartment you're still pretending you're going to rent? I glared at him. I'm looking at places tomorrow. Good, we'll come with you. You don't need to. Rowan, he stopped, turning me to face him. The parking lot was empty, the campus quiet. Stop fighting every bit of help like it's an attack. We want to be part of your life. Let us. I don't know how, I admitted quietly. Yeah, you do. He cupped my face, his callous thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're doing it right now. He kissed me then, not claiming, not demanding, just soft and sweet and devastating. When he pulled back, I was breathless. Come home, Thorne said. Let us feed you. Let us take care of you. You can apartment hunt tomorrow. I should have said no. Okay, I whispered instead. The apartment hunting lasted exactly 2 viewings. The first place was in a decent neighborhood, good security, reasonable rent. Caspian pointed out the lack of emergency exits. Zephyr noted the absence of security cameras. Thorne just stood in the middle of the studio and said, no. The second place was nicer, bigger, better building. They found problems with that one too. This is ridiculous, I said as we left the second showing. You're sabotaging this. We're being realistic, Caspian countered. Your safety standards are too low. Or yours are too high. Probably both, Zephyr admitted. I stopped on the sidewalk, frustration boiling over. Why are you even here? You don't want me to leave. Just admit it. Of course we don't want you to leave, Thorne said bluntly. But if you really want your own place, we'll help you find one that's actually safe. I don't need safe. I need affordable. You don't need affordable, Caspian said. We'll pay your rent. Absolutely not. Why not? Because, I struggled to articulate the tangle of pride and fear in my chest. Because then I owe you. Because then you have power over me. Because I won't be dependent on anyone. Silence fell over the street. Zephyr spoke first, his voice soft. It's not about power, sweetheart. It's about taking care of what's ours. I'm not yours. Aren't you? Thorne stepped closer. You're living in our home, wearing our clothes. You let us help you through heat. What do you call that? Temporary, I said desperately. A temporary arrangement until I figure out what's next. And what if what's next is us? Caspian asked quietly. I looked at them, 3 identical faces, 3 sets of ice blue eyes, all focused on me with the same intense certainty. I'm scared, I admitted. I don't know how to do this, how to be someone's anything. Then we'll learn together, Zephyr said. What if I can't? What if I'm too broken? You're not broken, Thorne said fiercely. You're cautious. There's a difference. Come home, Caspian said. Stop looking for apartments. Give us 6 months. If you still want to leave after that, We'll help you move. No guilt, no pressure. Just 6 months to see if this could work. 6 months? It felt like forever, and no time at all. And if it doesn't work? Then we'll deal with it, Zephyr said. Together. I looked at the apartment building behind us, at the life I was trying to force into being because it felt safe, familiar. Then I looked at them. At the life they were offering, terrifying and uncertain and nothing like what I'd planned. Okay, I whispered. 6 months. The relief on their faces was palpable. But I have conditions, I added quickly. Name them, Caspian said. I keep my job. I pay my own bills, phone, student loans, everything. I want my own space in the penthouse, not just a guest room. And you have to ask before making decisions about my life. Done, all three said simultaneously. Just like that? Just like that, Caspian confirmed. We want you comfortable. Whatever you need. Thorn pulled me against his chest, burying his face in my hair. Thank you. For what? For choosing us, even temporarily. I wrapped my arms around him, feeling Zephyr and Caspian move closer, surrounding me. Maybe this was insane. Maybe I was making a huge mistake. But for the first time since I was 18, I wasn't facing the world alone. That had to count for something. 2 weeks into our 6-month trial, Marcus Sterling showed up. I came home from work to find a stranger sitting at the kitchen island, laughing at something Zephyr had said. He was younger than the triplets, early 30s, maybe with the same dark hair but warm brown eyes instead of blue. A beta, I realized, recognizing the lack of alpha pheromones. He looked up when I entered, his face breaking into a brilliant grin. You must be Rowan. He bounded around the island, hand extended. I'm Marcus, the normal brother. Thank God you're here. I thought these three would die alone, surrounded by security contracts and emotional constipation. I shook his hand automatically, too stunned to respond. Marcus, Caspian said, a warning in his voice. What? It's true. Marcus turned back to me. Did they tell you about the time Thorn got shot protecting a client and didn't tell anyone for 3 days? Or when Zephyr hacked into a rival company's servers and almost started a corporate war? Or when Caspian... That's enough, Thorn growled. Marcus just grinned wider. I'm so glad you're here. Someone needs to keep these idiots in check. Despite myself, I smiled. They mentioned they had a brother. They didn't mention you were normal. Comparatively normal, Marcus corrected. I still grew up with these three. That does things to a person. He glanced at his brothers. So when's the bonding ceremony? Should I rent a tux? I choked on nothing. We're not. There's no... We're taking it slow, Caspian said firmly. You kidnapped him? Marcus pointed out. That's the opposite of slow. Protective custody, Zephyr corrected. Tomato, tomato. Marcus turned back to me. Seriously though, are they treating you okay? Because I know they can be intense. If you need an escape plan, I've got a safe house in the mountains. I'm fine, I said, surprised to realize it was true. They're intense, yes, but not cruel. That's something, at least. Marcus pulled out his phone. Give me your number. Someone needs to be your advocate in this family. We're his advocates, Thorn protested. You're biased. I'm neutral territory. Marcus waited expectantly. I gave him my number. That night, over a dinner Marcus insisted on cooking, I learned about the Sterling brothers' past. Their parents had died in a home invasion when the triplets were 19 and Marcus was 16. They'd built Sterling security from nothing, driven by the trauma of being unable to protect their family. They've been obsessive about safety ever since. Marcus said quietly, That's why they freaked out about your apartment. It's not about controlling you. They just can't handle losing anyone else. I looked at the three of them, Caspian washing dishes, Zephyr drying, Thorn putting things away with practiced efficiency. They weren't just overprotective alphas. They were traumatized kids who'd lost everything and built walls to keep the world out. Just like me. They care about you, Marcus added. I can tell. They've never brought anyone home before. We're not. You're living here. That's something. He stood, clearing his plate. Just be patient with them. They don't know how to do this any more than you do. After Marcus left, I found Caspian alone in his office, working late. Your brother is nice, I said from the doorway. He's a menace. But Caspian was smiling. "Come in, you don't have to lurk." I entered, closing the door behind me. The office was all dark wood and leather, with screens showing various security feeds. "He told me about your parents," I said quietly. Caspian's hand stilled on his keyboard. "Did he? Is that why you're like this? The overprotectiveness? The need to control everything?" "Probably." Caspian leaned back in his chair. "Losing them, it broke something in us. We swore we'd never be that vulnerable again. Never let anyone we cared about be at risk. I'm not at risk. You were. In that apartment, managing heats alone, isolating yourself." His eyes met mine. "You were at risk, and you didn't even know it. So you decided to save me. We decided to keep you safe. There's a difference." I moved closer, perching on the edge of his desk. "What if I don't need saving?" "Everyone needs someone," Caspian said quietly. "Even you. Is that what you are? My someones?" "We're trying to be." He reached out, his hand settling on my knee. "If you'll let us." I covered his hand with mine. "I'm trying too." "I know." His thumb traced circles on my knee. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not running. For giving us a chance." He pulled me closer until I was standing between his knees. "For being brave enough to stay." When he kissed me, it felt like a promise. 3 months into my 6-month trial, everything changed. It started with an invitation. I came home to find all 3 brothers in the living room, looking tense. "What's wrong?" I asked immediately. "Nothing's wrong," Zephyr said quickly, too quickly. "Liar," I set down my bag. "What happened?" Caspian held out an embossed invitation. "Annual Security Industry Gala. We're hosting this year." "Okay." I didn't see the problem. "You need to come with us," Thorne said. "Why?" "Because we're bringing you," he said simply. "As our date, all 3 of us." My stomach dropped. "That's people will talk. They'll assume correctly," Caspian interrupted. "You're ours. We want everyone to know." "I'm not. We're not bonded. We haven't even discussed." "Which is why this is important," Zephyr said gently. "We want to make our intentions clear. Publicly. You want to claim me. We want to show the world that you belong with us," Caspian corrected. "Big difference." I paced to the windows, looking out over the city. "I don't know how to be in that world. I'm a librarian. I don't go to galas." "You do now," Thorne said. "What if I embarrass you?" All 3 of them were suddenly there, surrounding me. "Impossible," Caspian said firmly. "You could never embarrass us," Zephyr added. "You're brilliant and kind and perfect exactly as you are," Thorne finished. "I don't have anything to wear." "Taken care of," Zephyr said. "Taylor's coming tomorrow." Of course they'd thought of everything. The gala was in 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to prepare for the most terrifying night of my life. The tailor was a small, efficient beta woman who pinned and measured me with professional precision. "You have excellent bone structure," she said. "We'll emphasize your shoulders, keep the lines clean, classic, elegant." I stood there feeling like a doll being dressed. When she left, Thorne found me sitting on the bed, staring at my reflection. "Talk to me," he said, sitting beside me. "I don't belong in your world. Our world is wherever you are. That's not people will judge me. Compare me to other Omegas you could have chosen." "There are no other Omegas," Thorne said fiercely. "There's only you." "You don't know that. You barely know me. I know you take your coffee with 2 sugars. I know you bite your lip when you're concentrating. I know you alphabetize your books by author within genre because you have control issues." He cupped my face. "I know you're terrified of being vulnerable. I know you think you don't deserve to be cared for. And I know you're wrong." Tears burned behind my eyes. "What if I can't do this?" "Then we'll leave early. But you can do this, Rowan. You're stronger than you think." The night of the gala, I barely recognized myself. The suit the tailor had created was perfect charcoal gray, fitted precisely to my frame. The fabric was soft, expensive, nothing like anything I'd ever worn. I looked like I belonged in their world. The thought terrified me. All 3 brothers appeared in my doorway, dressed in identical black tuxedos. They stopped dead, staring. "Fuck," Thorne breathed. "Language," Caspian said absently, his eyes locked on me. You're beautiful, Zephyr said softly. I look ridiculous. You look perfect, Caspian corrected. He crossed to me, adjusting my collar with gentle hands. Ready? No. Good. Neither are we. He smiled. Let's go anyway. The gala was held at the city's most prestigious hotel. The ballroom was filled with hundreds of people, wealthy, powerful, all dressed in clothes that cost more than my student loans. I wanted to run. Thorn's hand settled on my lower back, grounding me. We're right here. All night, Zephyr added from my other side. Caspian led the way, cutting through the crowd with effortless authority. People stared. Of course they stared. The Sterling brothers, the most eligible alphas in the city, had brought an Omega. The same Omega. All three of them. The whispers started immediately. Who is that? I heard he's a librarian. How did he trap all three of them? He must be extraordinary in bed. My face burned with humiliation. Ignore them. Thorn growled in my ear. Kinda hard when they're talking about me like I'm not here. They're jealous, Zephyr said. You have what they all want. Before I could respond, a woman appeared in our path. She was stunning, tall, elegant, with perfect features, and a designer dress that probably cost more than my car. An Omega, I realized, recognizing the sweet scent. Caspian, she purred. It's been too long. Victoria. Caspian's voice was polite but cold. This is Rowan. Rowan, this is Victoria Ashford. We provided security for her family 2 years ago. Victoria's eyes swept over me, assessing and dismissing in one glance. A librarian, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. How quaint. Rowan is our guest, Zephyr said firmly. Of course, Victoria smiled, showing teeth. I just thought the Sterling brothers would choose someone more suited to their position, someone who understands this world. The implication was clear. Someone like her? We chose exactly who we wanted, Thorn said, his voice dangerous. I'm sure you did. Victoria's hand landed on Caspian's arm. If you'll excuse me, I need to borrow Caspian for a moment. Business matters. Before any of us could protest, she steered him away into the crowd. I watched them go, my chest tight with insecurity. She was everything I wasn't. Elegant, confident, perfect. Don't, Zephyr said quietly. Don't what? Compare yourself to her. You're worth 10 of her. Am I? Because she seems to fit here a lot better than I do. Thorn turned me to face him. You think we want someone who fits? Someone who plays the game, who says the right things? Fuck that. We want someone real. She's trying to get in your head, Zephyr added. Don't let her. But it was too late. The damage was done. I made it through dinner by focusing on my plate, avoiding eye contact with the other guests. Caspian returned halfway through the meal, his jaw tight. She made a pass at me, he said quietly, very directly. My stomach dropped. And I told her I wasn't interested, that I already had someone. Someone who doesn't belong here, I muttered. Someone who belongs with us, Caspian corrected. Fuck everyone else. After dinner, there was dancing. I tried to disappear, but Thorn found me hiding near the coat check. Dance with me, he said. I don't know how. I'll teach you. He pulled me onto the dance floor before I could protest. It was awkward at first. I stepped on his feet twice, but his hands were steady, guiding me. Everyone's staring, I whispered. Let them. He pulled me closer. They can stare all they want. You're ours. When the song ended, Zephyr cut in. Then Caspian. I danced with all three of them, very aware of the eyes tracking our every move. This was their public claim. This was them telling the world I belonged to them. And for the first time all night, I didn't want to run. Victoria made her move during the after-party. The crowd had thinned, only the VIPs remaining. I was exhausted, ready to leave. Then I heard her voice, loud enough to carry. I'm just saying it's surprising. The Sterling brothers with a nobody from foster care. I froze. I mean, no offense to him, but what could he possibly offer them? No family connections, no wealth, no social standing. Victoria, Caspian's voice was ice. That's enough. I'm just being honest. Everyone's thinking it. Thorn stood, his chair scraping. Get out. Excuse me? You heard him, Zephyr said coldly. Leave, now. Victoria laughed, a sharp sound. You're throwing me out? Over him? I couldn't take it anymore. I turned, heading for the exit. Rowan, Zephyr called, but I was already gone. I made it to the lobby before they caught up. Wait, Caspian said, catching my arm. Let me go. Not a chance. I spun to face them. She's right, okay? Everyone's thinking it. What do I have to offer you? I'm nobody. You're not nobody, Thorne growled. I'm a librarian with student loan debt and foster care trauma. You're billionaires. This is insane. This, Caspian said fiercely, is the only thing that makes sense. Before I could respond, Thorne pulled out his phone. Conference room. Now. What are you doing? Ending this. He strode back toward the ballroom. We followed, confused. The remaining guests looked up as we entered. Thorne went straight to the small stage where the band had been playing. Can I have everyone's attention? His voice carried across the room. Oh God, what was he doing? I'm Thorne Sterling. You all know me, know my brothers, know our company. The room had gone silent. You want to know about Rowan Ashby? Let me tell you. Thorne, I started. Caspian's hand settled on my back, keeping me in place. Rowan is a research librarian. Thorne continued. He has a master's degree in archival science. He's published 3 papers on historical document preservation. He volunteers at the Children's Library on weekends. My face was on fire. He also grew up in foster care, raised himself from age 18, put himself through college, working 3 jobs. Thorne's eyes found mine across the room. He's the bravest, smartest, most resilient person I've ever met. Zephyr stepped onto the stage beside him. He's kind. He remembers people's coffee orders. He leaves notes in library books for future readers. He cares about everyone, except himself. Caspian joined them, and he's ours, not because of what he can offer us, but because he's the only thing in our lives that's ever felt real. The room was utterly silent. So if anyone has a problem with that, Thorne finished, his eyes finding Victoria in the crowd, they can take it up with me. He stepped off the stage and crossed to me. Dance with me, he said. Thorne, one more dance, then we'll go home. The band started playing a slow song. He pulled me onto the dance floor. Within seconds, Zephyr and Caspian joined us. All 4 of us dancing together, surrounded by hundreds of people. A public claiming, a promise. When the song ended, Caspian pulled me close and kissed me. Right there, in front of everyone. Then Zephyr, then Thorne. 3 kisses, 3 claims. By the time we left the gala, there wasn't a person in that room who didn't know exactly who I belonged to. Victoria tried her revenge, of course. She leaked information to society bloggers about my background, my time in foster care, my student loans, my nobody status. The Sterling brothers destroyed her in 48 hours. Not violently, not illegally. They simply used their connections. By the end of the week, Victoria's family had lost 3 major contracts. Her trust fund was frozen due to accounting irregularities her father hadn't disclosed. And a very detailed article about her history of manipulating alphas for financial gain appeared in the city's largest newspaper. That's terrifying, I said, looking at the article on Zephyr's tablet. That's justice, Thorne corrected. You ruined her life. She tried to hurt you, Caspian said calmly. No one hurts what's ours. The possessiveness should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel safe. 6 months into my trial period, I stopped looking for apartments. The penthouse had become home, my books lined the shelves, my coffee mug had a permanent spot in the cabinet, my scent was woven into every room. I belonged here. On the 6-month anniversary, Caspian found me in my room, not the guest room anymore, but my actual room, which they'd renovated to include a reading nook and built-in bookshelves. So, he said, leaning against the doorframe, 6 months is up. My heart stuttered. Yeah. Still want to leave? I looked around the room. At the life I'd built here. At the family I'd found. No, I whispered. I don't want to leave. Caspian crossed to me, pulling a small box from his pocket. Then stay. Permanently. He opened it. Inside were 3 matching rings, simple silver bands, each engraved with coordinates. What are these? The coordinates where we first saw you, in the library parking lot. He pulled out one ring. This is mine. This is Thorn's. This is Zephyr's. And this? I touched the fourth ring. Yours, if you want it. Is this are you proposing? We're claiming you, Caspian said. Officially, if you'll have us. Tears blurred my vision. All three of you? All three of us. We're a package deal. The door opened. Thorn and Zephyr appeared, both looking nervous. Well? Zephyr asked. What do you say, sweetheart? I looked at them, these three alphas who'd kidnapped me and saved me in the same breath. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll stay. Yes, I'm yours. The relief on their faces was beautiful. Caspian slipped the ring onto my finger. Then they were all there, surrounding me, holding me. We should make it official, Thorn said. The bond. We don't have to rush, Zephyr started. I want to, I interrupted. I want the bond, all of you. The bonding ceremony was private, just us, Dr. Cross, and Marcus as witness. We did it in the heat suite, the room where everything had started. It should have been terrifying. 3 alphas, 3 bites, 1 omega. Instead, it felt like coming home. They bit me simultaneously, Caspian at my neck, Thorn at my shoulder, Zephyr at the juncture where my neck met my collarbone. The pain was instant and searing. And then, the bond snapped into place. All 3 of them, flooding into my mind and heart and soul. I could feel everything. Caspian's fierce protectiveness, Thorn's passionate devotion, Zephyr's gentle love. And they could feel me. All my fear and hope and love. When it was done, I was marked, claimed, bonded, theirs, and they were mine. 1 year later, I woke up nauseous for the 3rd morning in a row. At first, I thought it was stress. I'd been working on a major archival project at the library. But when the nausea didn't fade after a week, Dr. Cross ran tests. You're pregnant, she said, smiling. I stared at her. I'm what? About 6 weeks along. Congratulations. Pregnant. I was pregnant. Omega pregnancy with triplet alphas was rare, but possible. And apparently, I'd won that lottery. I drove home in a daze, my hand pressed protectively to my stomach. How was I going to tell them? I found all 3 in the living room, working on separate laptops. They looked up when I entered, and immediately their expressions changed. What's wrong? Caspian was on his feet instantly. Nothing's wrong. I need to tell you something. They surrounded me, all tension and concern. What is it, sweetheart? Zephyr asked gently. I took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Silence. Then, Thorn made a strangled sound and dropped to his knees, pressing his face against my stomach. Zephyr's eyes filled with tears. Really? 6 weeks. Dr. Cross confirmed it this morning. Caspian pulled me against his chest, his whole body shaking. A pup. You're giving us a pup. I know it's fast, I said nervously. We've only been bonded a year, and I don't know if we're ready. Are you kidding? Thorn looked up at me, his face wet with tears. This is everything. You're not upset? Upset? Zephyr laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Rowan, this is the best news we've ever gotten. Caspian kissed me, deep and claiming. Thank you for choosing us, for staying, for this. The pregnancy was intense. They were overprotective before. Now they were impossible. I wasn't allowed to lift anything over 5 pounds. They monitored my food intake obsessively. Thorn actually carried me upstairs because the baby needs you to conserve energy. I'm pregnant, not dying, I protested. You're carrying our heir, Caspian said seriously. That's the most important job in the world. They built a nursery, fought over paint colors. Zephyr wanted soft blue, Thorn wanted gray, Caspian wanted white. They compromised on a soft sage green. Marcus visited constantly, already planning to be the fun uncle. Iris threw me a baby shower at the library. The Sterling brothers showed up and intimidated everyone. And through it all, I felt them constantly through the bond. Their love, their fear, their overwhelming joy. Labor hit at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. I woke to a sharp pain and my water breaking. Caspian, I gasped. He was awake instantly, already reaching for his phone. I'm calling Dr. Cross. Thorn, get the bag. Zephyr, bring the car around. They moved like a well-oiled machine, getting me dressed, getting me downstairs, getting me to the hospital. Dr. Cross met us at the private entrance. "How far apart are the contractions?" she asked. 5 minutes, I panted. "Then we have time. Let's get you settled." The labor suite was ready, everything prepared. The next 8 hours were a blur of pain and fear and overwhelming love. They stayed with me the entire time. Caspian coaching my breathing, Zephyr holding my hand, Thorn pressing cool cloths to my forehead. "I can't do this," I sobbed at hour 6. "Yes, you can," Caspian said firmly. "You're the strongest person we know." "Almost there, sweetheart," Zephyr encouraged. "One more push," Dr. Cross said. "One more big push." I pushed with everything I had. And then crying. Beautiful, perfect, furious crying. "It's a girl," Dr. Cross announced. A girl. We had a daughter. They placed her on my chest, this tiny, perfect creature with dark hair and ice blue eyes. She looked like them. "Hello, baby," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Caspian was crying openly. Thorn's shoulders were shaking. Zephyr couldn't take his eyes off her. "What should we name her?" I asked. "Iris," Thorn said immediately. I looked at him in surprise. "After your friend," he explained. "The one who was your emergency contact. The one who cared about you when no one else did." Fresh tears spilled over. "Iris Sterling." "Perfect," Caspian said hoarsely. Dr. Cross cleaned her up and handed her back to me. Then she did something unexpected. She gestured to the triplets. "Come here, all 3 of you." They approached hesitantly. "She's your daughter too," Dr. Cross said. "Hold her." Caspian went first, cradling her with surprising gentleness. "Hello, Iris. I'm your father." One of them, anyway. She blinked up at him, her tiny hand wrapping around his finger. He passed her to Thorn, who looked terrified. "I don't want to break her." "You won't," I said softly. Thorn held her like she was made of glass. "You're perfect, just like your mother." Zephyr took her last, sitting in the chair beside my bed. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm the fun dad. Don't tell your brothers." I laughed through my tears. We sat there for hours, just the 5 of us, passing our daughter between us, marveling at what we'd created. 6 months later, Iris was the most loved baby in existence. 3 fathers meant 3 people obsessed with her every sound, every movement, every milestone. They fought over who got to feed her, who got to change her, who got to rock her to sleep. Marcus called them ridiculous and bought her enough toys for 10 children. Iris adored her visits to the library. The staff treated her like royalty. And I had everything I'd never let myself dream of. A family, a home, people who loved me unconditionally. One night, I was nursing Iris in the rocking chair when Thorn appeared in the doorway. "Hey," he said softly. "Need anything?" "Just watching her sleep." He crossed the room, kneeling beside us. "I've been thinking about that text message, the one you sent to the wrong number. What about it?" "I don't think it was wrong." He touched Iris's tiny hand. "I think you found exactly who you were supposed to find." "You think it was fate?" "I think you were looking for help, even if you didn't realize it, and we were looking for you." He kissed my forehead. "We just needed your phone to bring us together." I looked down at our daughter, then at the doorway where Caspian and Zephyr had appeared, watching us. "I sent my heat schedule to the wrong number," I said softly, "and found exactly the right alphas." "Not wrong," Zephyr said, entering the room. "Never wrong." Caspian joined us, completing our circle. Fate. Iris made a soft sound in her sleep, and all 4 of us smiled. Yeah, fate sounded about right. The end. Sometimes the wrong number is exactly right. Sometimes 3 terrifying alphas turn out to be the family you never knew you needed. And sometimes a text message sent in panic becomes the beginning of everything. Thanks for listening to Rowan's journey from accidental kidnapping victim to beloved mate to happy father. If this story of found family, protective alphas, and one very stubborn omega touched your heart, let me know in the comments. Until next time, be careful what you send to strangers. You never know who might decide to keep you.